Okay, I got it.
There we go.
I did.
Top of the morning to you,
Hello!
lads.
Oh, yes, we're Jacksepticeye.
Yes.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome to episode 30 of the Degenerates podcast. Today we have Blue Collar in the studio again.
Yeah, that's
Blue
me.
collar.
Live in person.
Live in person in the studio.
Yeah, sure.
And we also have Mike, and that's Mike. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the art contest was a success. We actually got art.
Whoa.
And
That's how it qualifies.
and you're seeing it. You should be seeing it on the screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, we have it on
What was
YouTube and whatnot. We'll get it on there. You can see it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
And it was drawn by Holly Sama.
Of Hungary, right?
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to say where they live just
It's
for
a
privacy,
whole
but
country.
yeah, sure.
I don't think you're
Hungary.
going to be able to find out where he lives just by his first name. Oh, whatever. Alright.
Well, not even his name is internet name. I think.
Yeah, it's an internet name. I don't
he's
think
actually
it's
from
the
Austria.
real name. So,
Maybe.
Mike, you were gone, but I said that we should talk about the no internet thing at the start, just because. Why not? I don't want anyone to be upset that we didn't get to talk about something.
I'm not upset.
So,
But I did write a bunch of journal entries of it, and I have come.
Aw, you frickin' lose.
yeah. So for the first, congratulations to Holly Sama.
Yes, congratulations, dude.
Now we're gonna talk about not using the internet for the first 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Collar, you have a whole journal. You go first.
Well, I was actually going to ask you guys what your experience was like, because we were talking about it a bit before we started recording, and you were saying that you didn't find it to be so profound, Tony, and then Mike, you were saying that you did find it to be a bit more of a profound
It was a
experience.
little bit more. It was a little bit more profound for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
liked it a lot more.
but I'm assuming you guys already talked about that. So for me,
A
it
tiny
was.
bit.
Well, we didn't know how we were going to feel afterwards
Right.
No.
when we talked about it.
We didn't talk about it.
We recorded it
Yeah,
before.
you were still in the middle of doing it, weren't you?
No, we were we pre-recorded it. We recorded episode 28 and 29, one right after the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you haven't talked about it since you completed it then?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Since before we started it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
I
we
mean,
even
you
talked
haven't-
about it when we worked together. I don't think we did.
You haven't talked
Yeah.
about it upon completion, so that is a great place to start then. Because the first thing I noticed when I just totally disconnected, and I also just made an effort to use no screens at all. Basically anything that I like to dub immersive technology, that's TV, phones, that sort of video games. You kind of, your first immediate realization, or at least it was for me, is that the world is actually very alien to you at first, because you're not so used to being as in touch with it. And that took about a day to wear off. And then you start feeling a bit of a pull. I was talking to Mike about how it feels in terms of sensation, and after abstaining from internet for 2 days, I started likening it to a drug. Like, it felt to me like it must have some effects on the brain that are akin to a sedative. And then he was saying that there might be some relation there, right? Like you said something about.
Yeah, I said something like you don't like the you don't like what's on your phone. You like scrolling itself.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's related.
Yeah, and so for me, it was actually treated like any addiction, where I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but if I deprive myself of an addiction, I find it very hard. Like, I can stop doing the thing, but I find it very hard to do anything else. So I'll basically just sit still because I want to do whatever I was addicted to so much. But once you get over that, again, this is my experience. I had a surge in productivity. I had read 4 books in the week. I started doing some classical pieces on piano.
Whoa!
Been learning French a lot more. Eating a lot better, and my sleeping schedule was corrected almost immediately, which was something that was very difficult for me to fix while using the internet, and something that I did actively try to fix.
That makes sense, because you'd probably be getting a lot less blue light when you're not supposed to get it.
Right.
Yeah,
that is. Yeah. But it also just feels nicer. Like, you feel like your day has the sequence that it's meant to have. Like, the beginning of the day truly feels like the beginning of the day. Middle, the end, the end. When you're using what I like to call immersive technology, you don't so much get that experience. It just kind of all blends together. And for me, that experience is why I find it hard to have stable eating and sleeping routines.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how you said you think it must actually like affect your brain, because I remember I was listening to the Dick Show, and they were talking about a study where they did a study on people, and basically what they found was that after a month of using a screen, your cognitive thinking was impaired to some degree for up to a month after using a screen.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I also, if maybe it's easier to understand for some listeners, it was easier for myself to understand when I put it in this analogy. When you eat a lot of sugar, you taste things less, right? When you overstimulate your senses, you have less sensualness. So it seems to make sense that it would be the same with something like internet, which simulates things like social contact. Like, it just makes you feel like you're not alone. Tricks your brain into thinking, oh, it totally does. I think so.
It does.
I think so. In fact,
I
think that's the reason that social media, YouTube, I think that's how those things thrive.
Yeah,
especially
YouTube.
It's like,
especially YouTube. It's like a lot of people on YouTube I consider my friends and shit. Like in my head, it's like
absolutely.
it's going home and seeing what my friend uploaded today or something.
No, I was actually talking to a friend who said the same thing about PewDiePie, because he grew up with watching him, and he said, and the person I'm talking about, he's not the type of person you'd think would have this affiliation with the internet. He's very athletic, very outgoing. But even he was like, having someone like PewDiePie was like having a friend at the end of the day.
Right.
Which sounds good on the surface, but of course we can understand
the
implications. He's not real. He's
Exactly.
not actually your friend, and your life, your personal life is getting worse for it. So my entire point with all that is that it seems to me that internet use can overstimulate the senses and trick your brain into thinking that you're experiencing things that you aren't actually. And so therefore it's like burning out. Like, it's not going to experience, like, just eating a meal won't be as nice for your brain because your brain is like on crack all the time when it's on the screen. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. I think that's related to what I'm investigating with the archetypes. Because what the archetypes basically do is they project onto things. And so you don't, like, you can be in any environment, they'll still project.
So, could you elaborate on that a bit more? I don't think I quite understand.
So essentially, like, just certain aspects of someone's personality are drawn to certain things. And so the internet represents that thing for a lot of people. That kind of gets, like, that's kind of like the knowledge, like, what's going on factor. Something like that. It's
so
like,
rather, and I don't want to interrupt you, but rather than saying on this point, maybe you'd like to go into how you experienced the whole experiment of cutting out the internet.
Sure, yeah. I liked it a lot. I went to Alberta. So, like, right after I went to Alberta, it was fucking awesome.
Right.
I love Alberta so much. I want to, like, if I wasn't going to school, I'd move down there.
Yeah?
Or up there, I guess. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
And how did that work in tandem with the internet? Like, did
Well,
you
I mean, because
notice
everyone was a
anything-
lot more open, so it was a lot easier for me to, like, be social.
Right.
So, like, because if I wasn't, I would probably just stay in my room and read books.
Right. I think that
But then I was,
makes
like,
sense.
social and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. It
So
made
for
me
you,
really
just
tired,
helped
though.
you. Oh yeah.
Super tired. Like at the end of the night, I was shivering. I was cold. Like I was super tired. But then my mind
Sounds
couldn't
like
sleep.
withdrawal.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah, something lethargic. Yeah. I think I know what was happening, and you can read about that in Psychological Types, which I think, are we done with talking about?
Well, I was just going to ask Tony about what he thought, and then, we should move on.
Yeah. Whoops. I forgot about Tony, I'm sorry.
well, the thing is, I guess, because I was still in Seaforth when we were doing this, it was basically just like listen to music and then go hang out with people, and that's pretty much. I just wouldn't use the internet to listen to music. I'd use CDs or whatever.
Right.
So, but it's not too much different than what I was doing on the internet, anyways.
Right.
I guess I didn't have YouTube. But
that was a big difference for me because it's where I actually found myself spending a lot of time. A lot of time was on
too
YouTube.
much. Yeah. Too much for me.
I have there's a setting in the YouTube app that I found that can it'll cut off your YouTube after like an hour, and I turn that on because because you're able to look at your own analytics in the YouTube app to see how much you watch YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was pretty horrified when I looked at that. I was watching so much YouTube, so I cut it. I think
off. We all are kind of like that.
By an hour.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah. I'll do that. Yeah. I'll do the same. Limit it to an hour.
Well, I've cut it out completely, like I talked to you guys about with the VPN. So for the listeners, I have a VPN that blocks certain apps from using Wi-Fi data, and I won't let YouTube or Instagram or Snapchat connect to my phone at all now.
Nice.
I think it's a hugely important thing, no matter whatever you're doing, to cut down on YouTube, especially because of all the things we just said. And with all that freed up time, like I said, I found it hard to read one book in a few months before, and I am not exaggerating when I say I read 4 in a week. Like, your brain just goes crazy.
So you have a lot of what's the word? You have a lot of stuff for the book club then. A lot of stuff to say.
Yeah.
Well, I want to focus on just one, but Speaking about crazy.
Speaking about crazy, I felt like I was going crazy during this.
Right.
No, I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up and I wrote. And then I showed Blue Collar what I wrote, and it was fucking weird.
Yeah.
It was a strange experience.
Yeah.
I read your
you read my
you
read Umi Neko stuff.
No, I read your remember you sent me the thing you stayed up all night before we recorded those 2 podcasts? Yeah. And it was about complementary personalities.
Yep. Okay, I've learned a lot more than that. Yeah. That was really bad. But I also noticed, what you did was you just corrected specific letters and, grammar.
Oh, yeah,
I think that you could... I think that you have a way better ability to do stuff than that. But you just didn't feel like it, right?
Well, what do you mean by that? Because I don't think I understand what you're saying.
I think he has a really good ability to actually nitpick and stuff like that, but I don't think he let it manifest to its full ability.
Well, yeah, because I only really wanted to correct your grammatical. Okay. There was a lot of grammatical mistakes that you made in that.
Yeah. I don't think it's syntax. I think it's semantics.
Okay, so
we should transition.
It's been about 15 minutes. Yeah. Let's go to the book club.
Yay, book club.
Woo! They're going to play the book club song here. This is going to be the song. Okay. No, there isn't a song.
That was actually really
okay. Okay, so Zoomer, Mike, what book did you read? You're Jung? Did you read Jung?
What a surprise.
Okay, yes, I did read Jung. I read a lot. Okay. So I read all his descriptions. Descriptions, general description of the types. I read all of that because it's really dense and hard to understand. So you gotta really read it through and summarize it in your own words to learn it. And so I found that there's like a few different... I actually wrote a fuckload down for it, so I can probably...
See, I wish I wrote down more for the book I want to talk about, because Lord Almighty is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. So essentially what I learned was you have introversion and extroversion, right? Introversion is a negative relationship between subject and object. So that means that you, instead of pushing libido outward, you push it inward to yourself. And then for extroversion, you push it
libido?
outward. Libido is like, you can think of it like psychic energy. It's not like actual energy. It's like what he uses as like the quote unquote energy of the brain.
All right.
It's essentially a process of like will and
oh boy. Okay.
Kind of something like that. Like
right.
I forgot how he describes will.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Anyways, so introversion, extroversion. Each person has that type in them to, like, base, to start with. Everybody has the opposite type manifested in their counter type. So, for instance, I am an introverted intuitive type, and my counter type is extroverted sensation. And everyone has all the types in them. They can manifest, so it can be intuition, sensation. Those are our rational types. And then you have thinking and feeling, which are rational types. And so basically, if you were to be a feeling type, you would oppose thinking and vice versa and all that. So essentially, they interact with each other and spread knowledge in interesting ways.
Right?
Huh?
Like, they can't be absolute. Like, everyone... Like, I think we had this conversation before. Like, everyone
they're
thinks
not absolute,
just because you're a feeling
just,
type doesn't mean that you can't think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that thinking, the way that... Say that you're a introverted feeling type, and then you have your counter type is extroverted thinking. Mm. Your extroverted thinking type would be really shitty. It would be it's like your counter type is primitive. It's like the opposite of what you are, basically.
Right.
Pretty much the exact opposite, because I find a lot of differences between, like, or not differences. They're not differences. They're just flipped. A lot of things between me and my brother, who is an extroverted sensation type, are just flipped. So he doesn't care about grossness in the external world, but he cares about grossness on the internal world. So that would be like, if I took his vape, he would clean it off. But he would also put on a fucking dirty hat under a garage and, play around with it. Whereas I'm the opposite.
Right.
So that's what I've noticed. That's what I'm investigating. I'm going to leave it open for other people to talk about now.
Well, it's certainly a dense subject. And it's really hard to get a grasp on if you haven't gone into it yourself. Especially because, as I understand it, these ideas are unique to you. I think that what Jung tried to do is he tried to incorporate everything. So he looked at all of mythology, all of these languages, and then condensed them. I understand. I'm just saying, like this model that you're using is used by Jung and not really anybody else. I think that you said that to me.
Well, a lot of Jungians use it as well.
Well,
so Jungians are people who study Jung, and he has a pretty big following.
I'm sure.
I guess.
But yeah, it's within his school of thought and so on.
Yes, exactly.
I guess
it is within his own school of thought.
Actually, this might be a really good transition. And I hope I'm not supposed to have read the full book because I have not. I've only gotten halfway through it. It's such a dense book. In Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that I'm connecting it with this is there's a strong connection with moral values and the thirst for knowledge and how we kind of justify striving for knowledge. And there's a lot of criticisms in there. But the one thing that Nietzsche points out, as I understand it, and it's hard to understand, is you always, no matter, like, you cannot search for knowledge objectively. So you will have a goal when you're searching for quote-unquote knowledge. And if you have a goal, and we'll replace the word knowledge with truth here, actually. And if you have a goal to find truth, then you cannot find truth because it will always be tainted by your goal. And so from there, he goes on to actually just really criticize any theory that has any hint at absolutism. He speaks a lot about spectrums and whatnot. So the reason that I'm relating it to that is when you say someone's an extroverted feeling type,
yes,
it doesn't, or maybe I know that that's just the most dominant type.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not just the most dominant type. That's how they think.
Right. See, that's where I'm starting to draw the issue. It's a few things. It's first, there's only 4 functions, right? Or 8 functions.
4 functions. Well,
right.
Well, 4
you know what I mean?
functions, but then I know what you mean. But then each other type manifests in certain ways in their life.
But just the very fact that there's only 4 functions should lead one to believe that it's too limited a theory. That the human mind is much more complex than to be defined by only 4 functions. So my
That's why he uses archetypes.
Yeah, my thing with this theory is that it's good enough when you're trying to be quick about things.
Yes.
But it does not seem to be good enough when you're trying to make an in-depth diagnosis of a person, group, or society.
Oh, no, of course
It just does not give you enough information. It's just a general estimation of where people exist on a made-up scale. And I don't mean that to denigrate the idea, because every scale is made up. But as I've now learned from Nietzsche, it's actually extremely important to always be aware that, to put it very simply, literally everything you know is predicated on something made up. Not just made up, but made up with an intention in mind. Like, there's no objective truth in our world. And by our world, I mean in the world of humans. So...
yeah. He used that same argument. I'm pretty sure he used that same argument to denounce the idea of the individual. That the idea of the individual is just language. He does that in, I believe it was,
this was
not
the Space.
His first book, The Birth of Tragedy. He did it in that.
Okay.
Yeah, his first one.
Like I said, I haven't gotten all the way through the book, but so far it's mostly just a criticism of... it's like a criticism of everyone. He really goes in hard on Christianity, though. Like, he goes in hard on Christianity.
Yeah.
So, one idea that struck me... Well, it's so hard to relate these ideas because he's really distilled them to as simple as they can be. But one idea is he talks about... I don't think he calls it religious tyranny. What's he call it? Religious... Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue here.
Dogma?
No, it's not even close.
No.
I lost it. Whatever. That's gonna bother me. Essentially, it's a word with a negative connotation. I think it means something like degenerates or deterioration. I can't think of it right now. But there are 3 main, I guess, behaviors that arise. Do you actually mind if I go get the book?
Sure, yeah.
You can
It'll
go
just
get
take
the
a
book.
second. Okay, I'll be right back.
All right. What did you read, Tony?
Remember how I said in the last book club that I wasn't going to have any time to read anything till like just the last minute?
Right. Yeah.
So I read a book last night. I read a book, it was this morning after I woke up. I read a book.
Okay.
Then I called you.
Okay.
And... is Blue Collar back?
I'm back here.
Okay.
Okay, now give me a second, and I will find it. See, he orders everything by numbers, which is really useful when you're trying to remember something like this.
Yeah. That's what Jung does as well. And he cites his own work with his numbers, and it's really cool because he essentially what Jung does when they do something like that is they make their own language. Essentially, that's what's happening with all the meaning that they
religious
can put
neuroses.
Into it.
Sorry to cut you off, but that's what he calls it. Religious neuroses.
Oh,
and
yes,
says,
I know of neuroses.
Yes, he says wherever the religious neuroses has appeared on Earth so far, we find it connected with 3 dangerous prescriptions as to regimen: solitude, fasting, and sexual abstinence. Okay, And that's all I need to kickstart my idea. I'm just going to put my bookmark back. Yeah. So, first of all, that struck me because he calls it a neuroses. Those three things are typically things that we kind of praise in people. You know, if you can be sexually abstinent, that shows some strong will. Fasting and solitude, same thing. It's something for some reason that I feel is a positive connotation normally attached to it. But he also goes into Christianity on the idea that it's so cool the way he puts it. So you know what the eros is, right? E-R-O-S?
It's related to like eternal love or something along those lines, right? Or like sexual desire.
Yeah, that's closer to it. But that's closer to it. He says that Christianity fed poison to the eros, but that the eros did not die, and instead it became vice.
Oh my god. Nietzsche's literally a fucking psychoanalyst.
He's a genius, is what he is.
He is a genius.
And, like, man, one thing that's really terrific about this book is he raises questions that you never knew you... like, you wouldn't have even thought of the questions in the first place.
Yeah. Because he's smart.
But if I'm supposed to talk about a general summary as to the book so far, it's a criticism on, firstly, philosophers, secondly, institutions like religion, but it does also praise them. And then, thirdly, it's a criticism of how we think that we think, and the very idea of will. So, like, he puts out there that people think that they have will over themselves. Like, you can actually make yourself do something. And if you didn't have that will, you wouldn't have done it otherwise. And he just says, it's all emotion. Like, people think they have will over their emotions, and he's just saying, whatever you think that will is just another emotion.
Just a chemical reaction.
But it's not that. It's not that. If it was that, it would be a very cold sentiment. It's something like... and the reason it's not that is because he does, as Zoomer said, call for a lot of things. He calls for people to come to be Ubermensch. He calls for people, all sorts of things, which you wouldn't call for if you thought that everything was brain fizz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's not just chemical reactions, because it also depends on the structure of the brain and whatnot, and the environment as well.
He talks a whole hell of a lot about the soul and the spirit, and but essentially it's just to cut myself short here because I've been talking for a while. If you want to question the way that you have been taught to think, that you innately think, and how things operate around you, if you want to question all those things, this is the book to start with. What about you, Tony?
Yeah,
I read a book just this morning. Because I haven't had time until this morning to read a book. Because I was in Seaforth and I was going to read a book when I came back here because there's lots of books here I haven't read. So I read a short book. It's actually it's a stage play, but he published it as a book, and it's called Babylon Heights, and it was originally performed in 2006, and it's about the Wizard of Oz, but it's about like behind the scenes, the Munchkins. The play is meant to be played by normal sized people, but the set is supposed to be like 3 times everything in the set supposed to be 3 times its normal size to make the normal people look like they're dwarves.
Okay.
And it's about because when they were making the Wizard of Oz, for the Munchkins, they found little people from all over the world and brought them over. I can say whatever I want, man. But
True.
But they brought them from all over the world, and then they put them all into their own like hotel, and there was a whole bunch of stories of like munchkin orgies and alcohol, like them getting drunk as hell and shit because I don't know, you put a whole bunch of people together, they've all come from different spots, you know, like what do you think they're going to do? And so it's about these 4 munchkins who are all in the same hotel room, and it's a comedy play, and it's pretty funny. It's something that I would like to put on. I wanted to read it because there's the theater in town here, and I was thinking I know a lot of the people who are putting on the shows there, and so I want to start reading some stage plays so that I can think, because I might find something interesting that I could bring to them, and that's a really interesting play too, with a really weird gimmick with everything like 5 times the size and yeah,
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I was reading this morning.
So did you finish it? Or?
I did not finish it, but I'm close. Okay. It's there's not much to. It's like a comedy stage play where they they just get into a funny situation. Although it's very adult, it's not for kids.
Yeah,
no,
it's
doesn't sound for kids.
Is this some Kappa or Kappa, whatever that is?
Yeah,
Kappa. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not for YouTube. It's for the stage.
For intellectual adults to enjoy. Yes. Plays. Yes, the theater.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get shot like Abe Lincoln.
Oh. You know, it's funny. I saw what was it? A headline saying that, you know, if you go to theaters or plays regularly, it's supposed to help lengthen your lifespan somehow. And then it's a little picture. Oh. It's a picture of Abe Lincoln going. So that was a fucking lie.
I'm not sure if it's just like theaters. I think it's just live art. I think.
I think that stuff is really great. Good. I think that, you know, like, I'm not going to even contest its benefits as to the individual. Why does everyone, it has to be about extending life or not extending life? It's like,
oh yeah,
shut up. How the hell could you possibly know that?
Does it just have the experience? Well, it's like it's evidence for why it's good, apparently, because apparently having a longer life is just considered good.
And see, there's another value judgment for no reason. Why? But second of all, how can you even prove that it leads to a longer life? Like, who, what, how?
You just look at people who do and people who don't and see who lives longer. And
okay, but that's
the people who don't live long
time to wait. And there's so much. How could you control the other variables in that?
No, because you don't wait for it because you just ask them.
You just ask,
and then you wait until they die.
Well, you
wait to see how old they are.
But isn't this you're in sciences? You should know the causation correlation. Like maybe
I know what it is. I know
that you know what it is.
They do.
So I'm saying, you know, maybe people who are going to theaters more often are probably leading a better life healthfully. Well, if you're going to the theater every so often, you probably have a bit of extra cash on you, so you can probably afford to live a healthier lifestyle than someone who's not going to the theater all the time. Like, I'm not contesting anything else. I'm just saying, like, how the hell do they make these studies? It's like, this gives you a longer life. It's like you have to watch that person for their whole life.
This is actually something that I fucking hate about social science. They don't do cross-factor analysis.
I don't know what that means.
So that means that they don't look at shit that could be influencing it. They just look at the two things themselves. That's what people take from.
Oh.
I haven't seen the study, so I don't want to make claims about this specific study.
No,
but
it's
it's
just
good to actually know how to read it's good. Everybody listening, fucking read the research paper. Because the research paper will tell you something that the fucking journals and all that shit, they won't tell you that. They won't tell you it. That's why climate change is so blown out of proportion. Because people don't fucking read the studies. Like, climate change is going to happen no matter what. We can't really do anything about it.
See,
it's going to happen, so just deal with it.
And you know what's funny is I'm going to play devil's advocate with you here, even though I'm totally on your side 100% of the way. Probably even further than you are. But, see, you've said to me that there is evidence that humans are changing the climate. What are we fucking talking about, by the way?
Yes, there is a small amount of evidence. Yes, we are changing the climate, but even if everyone in like the West stopped doing shit, it would still continue anyways.
Right. So you have
we're coming out of an ice age.
Well,
exactly.
Trust me, I know all about it, and I've seen the graphs as well. But I was thinking maybe that I don't know, like actually, it's kind of funny how my thinking worked on this. It's just that these lefty types are so loud. I always assumed that they had, some concrete stuff that I just haven't seen yet. Have you seen anything that would like really indicate that it's just us at all?
You need.
Well, right after they started doing nuclear testing, the temperature started going up a lot quicker once they started testing nuclear weapons.
Now, there's something that's probably not a coincidence.
Probably not, no.
That's interesting.
So we are having an effect on our environment. Well, that is actual fact.
Here's my thing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm honestly wondering how you're already on this topic. But if people are so concerned with the environment, why aren't they going outside and picking up the litter on the ground in their community? Why are they so concerned with the invisible emissions that are affecting the invisible layer? And you know what? If it's all real, it's probably important and you should be worried about it. But why are you so concerned with the invisible things that you have no control over on the grander scale? When, go walk down any street with your eyes open and there's trash everywhere.
Yeah, there is.
Well, I'm just saying, there's a massive hypocrisy.
I have a theory about that. It's related to the types, but I want to let Liam talk. Fuck, goddammit. I want to let Tony talk. Sorry, I said your name there.
What do you want me to talk about?
I don't know, just what your thoughts on climate change and what Caden just said is.
I don't really have anything new to bring to what was just said. The Ice Age and all that stuff. Nuclear weapons, I already said that. There's not too much more for me.
Okay. Well, here's what I think is going on. I think that we've repressed a certain factor of our personality. It's very broad. This is just base ideas, Jungian stuff. Mm. But I think that I think it's something that I'm onto here. It's a certain archetype that plays into this kind of factor, because I tend to what intuition kind of does. Intuition tries to look at what it can't see. That's what intuition looks at, pretty much. It looks at lives, stories, things like that. And what climate change is, just a story that people are trying to push onto us.
That's definitely right. Because it's something that people can't see, but they're becoming, fearful. They're having emotional reactions to something that right now has no bearing on their life. It's just a story.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, it's going to have a bearing on their life. But it's going to happen either way. That's the thing.
But you're thinking about the way that human beings think, right? There's no visible, immediate, or even danger that you can feel. The climate hasn't actually gotten hotter to a degree where you can really feel it in most of the world, I don't think.
Well, here's what I learned from Jung. There's literally no difference between psychic reality and objective reality in terms of social beings. So if something is created, I know it's a dangerous idea to talk about, I know.
It's a weird
one.
But
I think it's right. It's a very weird one. essentially, we work with archetypes. You remember that movie where people where there's a woman and a child locked in a room together, like underground, where they were she was kidnapped, and she just had a kid with this guy who like kidnapped her.
What's it called?
I fucking forget what it's called. I think if you look it up, if you look up just the general story, you'll find it. But essentially, what happened was this woman, his mother, taught her kid that the entire world underground the bunker, because the kid never sees the outside world. Mm-hmm. The world inside the bunker is his world, and so she did that, and I think that's right. Because every morning he was like, hi toaster, hi microwave, shit like that.
So that's connected to the, I think it's Socrates who came up with the idea, where it's like, I can't remember the exact point of the story, but it's like you have three men that are
sitting in a cave.
Yeah, and there's a fire behind them, and all they can do is watch their shadows flicker.
They
and then
see the shadows of people walking past.
And then you free to
I think it's related to that idea.
Yeah.
It can be interpreted a bunch of different ways, though. That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people try to say, is that certain creative works can be interpreted in many ways. Yeah. I don't think that's the case. Well, I don't think they can be interpreted any way.
I think that there is a hierarchy of interpretations, and that some are more correct than others.
I do think that most of the time, the person who made the creation had a certain meaning in mind when he made it, but also once you put it out into the public, it sort of kind of becomes the public's whatever you want to put onto it ends up becoming what it is to you.
Well, see, this is why I'm investigating the types, because I think that this is actually a process that happens naturally. Like, it just happens. Like, it's happening now. It's happening right as we speak. And so essentially what happens is the creative types essentially create something, and then it gets dispersed into the public, and then a bunch of different people think about it, read it, watch it, love it, don't hate it, all these things. And then that influences the culture.
Could you say the last part again? You cut out a bit.
Oh, so essentially, it's a process that happens. Creative people create some sort of creative work. It distributes down, and then basically the public, who maybe aren't as creative or don't have that creative type manifested in their personality as strongly, they will like interpret it and stuff like that. They will interpret it, and then it will get into the culture.
No, and maybe it's an irrelevant point, but is it maybe that rather than they just interpret it, they kind of steal it in a way because they lack the creativity? It's something along the lines of projection.
I think that creative works appeal to the innate psychic structure.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but have you ever listened to music or just enjoyed something and on some sense felt that it was yours?
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, there have been times when I've listened to something and thought, like, fuck, I wish I made this, or I wish I wrote this song, or I wish that I was the one who wrote this because it's awesome.
Actually, I don't know if I do, actually.
Well, I'll put it this way, and maybe it is unique to me, but if I'm listening to music that I really like, I find myself, and I mean I find myself, kind of thinking about it as if it is mine, like as if it somehow came from me, sort of thing. Which obviously it didn't, and consciously I know it didn't, but I have that general relationship with it.
Yeah, see, I think that's related to kind of like the a priori existence of all knowledge. Something along those lines. Like, all knowledge is present in your mind, it's just that it needs something to, like, manifest in. It needs some object to manifest in.
But you might be right. I'm not sure.
Because the reason I think that is because the archetypes are filled with so much meaning, and that meaning is present in your mind. It just needs something to attach to.
Right.
Archetypes and stuff like that are just really abstract ways of talking about biological processes in the body. Because everything that I'm talking about I see it relating to genetics. I think it's inborn in genetics.
Yeah. You were telling me that the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's been about 45 minutes, and if we go too much longer, then no one will click on the video.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, it's good talk.
Yeah, does anyone have any final words?
Read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I just started it, and I see that it's actually the distilled version of everything that Jung has talked about.
Oh,
or at least the first bit of it.
I'm gonna steal your thing and say read Beyond Good and Evil. Totally changes the way that you look at everything. And your own value structures.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say everybody read A Brief History of Time and Space by Stephen Hawking. It's good.
It probably is good.
Probably. Dude, Stephen Hawking was a gem.
Well,
he's dead though.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Couldn't have been that great. Dead. What an idiot.
I'm not dead.
Exactly. I'm way smarter than him.
Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
See you next weekend.
Yeah.
So is that done then?